So I have received quite a few parcels as of late, and I thought we could unbox them together. The first one here is a special edition, and this is a series that I have heard like nothing but good things about, and it's Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen. This is a poly romantasy series inspired by Beauty and the Beast that has one main character who falls in love with these 4 princes who I believe have some sort of curse on them, and they're all fae princes of different seasonal courts. As a fan of ACOTAR and fairy tales, I'm highly intrigued. It's also a really gorgeous edition as well. It has a sprayed edge and beautiful interior artwork as well. I'm assuming this is probably our main character. I've heard a lot of good things about this series and have been wanting to read it, so very excited to have this one. Now this box is full of books, and there are a lot of new releases in here. The first one that I am seeing is Mate by Hazelwood. Oh my gosh, I loved Bride. I have kind of been hit or miss when it comes to Hazelwood's books, but Bride was one of my favorites of hers. My other favorite is Love Theoretically. Mate I've been super excited about. I was able to predict which characters it was going to follow based on how Bride ended, so I am very excited to follow this one. I really liked the world building that she established in Bride, and of course the fall sort of October-November season is the perfect time to pick up werewolf and vampire books. This time always reminds me of Twilight in particular, and I've kind of been thinking about picking that series back up again, but I think Mate fits that same sort of vibe, so I'm very excited to get to this one, and I've heard some good opinions about it so far as well. Their new release from an author that I've read from before, and it's called House of Dragons by K.A. Linde. K.A. Linde is also the author behind the Wren and the Holly Library series. This is a separate series, and I believe we're following some sort of Dragon Riders Academy. It says enter the tournament, win a dragon, don't fall in love. That seems really interesting to me. I also really like this cover as well. The purple color is really stunning. These cool scale end papers as well. Also another author that I've read from before, Holly by Adalyn Grace. This is a follow-up novella to the Belladonna series, and I absolutely love the Belladonna series. It's also another one that I feel is very fitting for the October-November season as well. This one I do think has something to do with Christmas though. I think it's kind of similar to the Stephanie Garber Caravel Christmas novella. I do think it's kind of cute, and I am excited to see what our characters are up to. These hardbacks are also really stunning. They have art underneath the dust jacket. And then there are also some end paper artwork of our different couples from the series. I think is super cute. The green print, that's so interesting. I don't think I've seen that before. I'm not too big on like holiday stuff, but it does make me kind of excited for the season that a lot of my favorite series are getting like continuation novellas. I think Stephanie Garber is also planning to do one for the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, which is actually my favorite series by her and one of my favorite series of all time. Another one, this is a sequel to a book that I've read before. Between These Broken Hearts, I believe the first one in this was Beneath These Cursed Stars, and this is also a follow-up duology to a series called These Hollow Vows. There's sort of like rival fae courts and stuff like that. Because this is sort of like book 4 in that series, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but really enjoyed the first one in this series. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I did the original duology. However, this cover I think is actually shinier than the others in this series, so that's kind of bothering me, but I'm still very excited to read this one as I've been waiting to find out what happens with these characters. And then the next one here is probably my most anticipated release of the year, and it's Empire of the Dawn. I love the Empire of the Vampire series by J. Kristoff. I feel like it's a very different vibe from the rest of the books that I've talked about so far, but this is like the most dark, gritty fantasy series you might ever read, and it's also one of the best fantasy series you will ever read because the character work in this is just so fantastic. The story is so gripping. Just everything that J. Kristoff does in the series is amazing, and I'm so excited to get to this one, though I'm like very nervous because of how much I love this series and also because of how dark it is, that I'm just like, I don't think anything's gonna go well for our characters. These are also just some of the most stunning books of all time. The cover art is just phenomenal in my opinion, and it also has these illustrated map papers as throughout the book as well. There are interior artwork, though I do believe they changed the artist, but I still think it's really stunning. That while I am a little bit upset that there isn't going to be that same artistic continuity between the interior artwork illustrations, I still like that they've decided to still continue that, because this is something that I have found has made this series such a standout for me, how much the illustrations add to my enjoyment of these books, because it just makes the whole reading experience feel so immersive. So I would highly recommend this series, not just for how immersive the illustrations make the experience of reading it, but just how wonderful the writing and the story is at large. Once again, it's a very dark series, so would highly recommend checking trigger warnings and stuff like that. Ruthless Fae, which is the second book in the Zodiac Academy series. Honestly, I did not expect to like the first Zodiac Academy book as much as I did. I was kind of just picking it up because I was like, everyone's talking about this, I need to know what's going on. But I actually ended up really enjoying it. I really liked our two main characters, Tori and Darcy, and I'm excited to see how their story continues, and also how the different romances start to develop as well, because I already have some favorites that I would like to see. I also have an additional 2 books that I received earlier in the week, so I have already unboxed them, but I figured I would just show them. The first one is The Changeling Queen by Kimberly. This is apparently a retelling of the Scottish ballad of Tamlin, which, if you are an ACOTAR fan like me, is also the inspiration behind the character of Tamlin as well. But I believe this one we're following the Changeling Queen, who is the queen who curses Tamlin, so sort of the Amarantha figure if you have read ACOTAR. So I'm very excited to see the author's interpretation. This is also a really stunning edition. It has these cool edges and has some cool botany artwork as well. I do love this cover as well. I feel like it's very fairy coded. The Things Gods Break by Abigail Owen. This is the sequel. I haven't actually read the first one in this series, however, I found this one on Amazon for over 50% off, and I was like, I need to get it at that point. It was like $20 instead of $45 or something like that. So, and if you were anything like me, you obviously know how expensive buying books can be, so when those sales pop up, you gotta take advantage of them. I'm still kind of nervous on whether or not I will like the first one in this series, because I've heard a lot of mixed opinions about it, and I myself am a big fan of Greek mythology, so sometimes I do struggle with books that take inspiration from Greek mythology because I might not like some of the changes that they make with it. But I think in this world, and there's some sort of tournament trials competition that the gods select champions to compete in their place for, and then if they win, they become like the new ruler of the gods. I think that concept is really interesting. It's also, you know, a special edition as well, so that's why I picked it up. It has some cool artwork as well. And last but certainly not least is our Fairyloot parcel. I believe this is the Fairyloot September, because mine ended up getting delayed due to a Canada Post strike. I like to go a bit more into depth with the Fairyloot books, so I'm going to show off some of the customizations as well as talk a little bit more about what the books are about. So the first one here is the YA book, and this is the card. The theme for this month was A Midnight Promise, and here is the back that shows the details of the artists who worked on this edition. And the book is Never Ever After by Linde. This one I am super excited for. I have read Linde's Daughter of the Moon Goddess series before, and I'm not a big fan of it, but I did still enjoy certain elements of the story, so I'm very excited to see where she goes with this one. This one also has a absolutely stunning redesigned cover. I love these pastel colors, and the edges are also amazing. The back as well. I just love these pink and blue pastels, are just stunning in my opinion. This one I also believe is a retelling Cinderella as well, so I'm very excited to see how the author is going to integrate that story, especially because Linde takes a lot of inspiration from Chinese history as well, so I'm very excited to see how a traditionally Western story is going to be integrated into a new world. Interior artwork as well, which is also gorgeous. And then the naked hardback, this is also stunning, and I love the continuation of the color palette as well. The dragons are also super cool. The reversible dust jacket, which is the standard UK cover, I believe, in a redesigned color palette. The synopsis: fate isn't forged in iron. Life in the Iron Mountains is harsh and unforgiving. After the death of her beloved uncle, Yining has only survived as a skilled thief and an even better liar. But when she acquires an enchanted ring that holds the key to a brighter future, it is stolen by her step-aunt, and Yining must venture into Imperial heart of the kingdom to seize it back. Amid the grandeur of the palace, Yining catches the eye of the ruthless and ambitious prince who tempts her with a world she's never imagined. But nothing is as it seems, and soon she is trapped in a tangle of power, treachery, and greed. Her only ally, a cunning advisor from a rival court who keeps dangerous secrets of his own. To break free, Yining must embark on a peerless quest to fight for a future that both frightens and calls to her, and choose who to trust when allies can be as deadly as enemies. It does kind of remind me a little bit of the Daughter of the Moon Goddess series, as well, as main character sort of has a similar kind of dilemma of entering an imperial court and having two rival love interests as well. But I'm still excited to see how this series is going to play with similar tropes and also do things a bit differently. I think this is just such a stunning edition and makes me very excited to read it. The next one is the Romantasy, and the theme for this one was molded by iron. This was kind of the one that I was most nervous that I would not like, because I've heard some mixed opinions about it and I'm just not 100% sure if it's going to be exactly to my taste, but I do really like this edition, and it is Metal Slinger by Rachel Snyder. This one I believe we're following like a main character who has some like power over metal, and there's probably some like shadow daddy love interest. I love these edges. I'm not in love with this cover. Like, yes, this man is a specimen, so to speak, but it's not fully selling me, if that makes sense. The end papers as well, in my opinion, are a little bit lackluster. Like, it's nice seeing like what the characters look like, because that's a main thing that I look for when it comes to special editions, but I like the ones in the Never Ever After a lot more because the characters are a lot more dynamic and I feel like I'm getting to see elements of their personality. The other one. However, I think this Under the Dust jacket is very, very pretty. I really like the like sword and the different daggers and the purples. Purple is one of my favorite colors, and it tends to be one color that Fairyloot tends to go with a lot as well. So there is also a redesigned cover. It's just the standard cover in an alternative color palette. One boat, one bed, one jaw-dropping plot twist. Even though she's not one of them, Bryn has spent her life amongst the Alaha, a community exiled to live at sea, training to be a guard and waiting for the chance to attend the annual market hosted by the Kenta, the same people who exiled her adopted community. Going to the market is a rite of passage, eagerly anticipated by all young guards, but Bryn does not anticipate breaking a century-long peace treaty while there, or for an intense encounter with an enemy soldier to threaten the fragile peace between their people and everything Bryn once believed to be true. Soon Bryn's loyalty to the Alaha is tested when an unexpected visitor tracks her down, none other than said enemy soldier, sworn under oath to awaken Bryn to her true identity. Sent to sea and feeling more alone than ever, there a world of denied magic is unveiled. With rumors of a growing rebellion, Bryn's future has never looked so unsure. She was once certain of her fate and where she belonged, but the dark knowing eyes of a stranger have her questioning everything, including her heart. I'm still not fully sold that I'm going to enjoy this one, just because I don't feel like that synopsis really gave me a lot of depth to what's going on with the plot line. Because I've seen a lot of people enjoy it, I'm still cautiously optimistic that I might enjoy it as well. So here's to hoping I will enjoy it, because this is a really nice addition. The next one is probably the most controversial book of the year so far, and maybe even of the decade. Be able to tell just from the card, but it's Memory and Malice as the theme. And that book is of course none other than Alchemized by Senlin Yu. I think everyone has heard of this. This is the traditionally published version of the original Dramini fanfiction Manacled. This is it rewritten in its own world, but it is still largely the same story. I'm not going to get too into the kind of controversy around it, but my opinions on this are still a little bit mixed, but I am interested in the themes and topics that this story seems to be exploring, and I do quite like this edition as well. So I was quite intrigued when I heard that Fairyloot was going to be doing this one. Plus, I feel like, given how many people are talking about it, whether that's positive or negative, I feel like I have to read it just to know what's going on. I also haven't read the Manacled book because I wanted to read this version of the story, because I believe this is more focused around what the author wants to portray their story as. I do quite like this cover. I feel like it is a bit different than what I expected out of the story. There's also character artwork on the underneath dust jacket, and then the reversible dust jacket is the standard cover in red. Apparently there was some controversy about this possibly using AI, but I really like this one, this illustration though. And then there are also character artwork on the interior. Once a promising alchemist, Helena Marino is now a prisoner of war and her own mind. Her resistance friends and allies have been brutally murdered, her abilities suppressed, and the world she knew destroyed. In the aftermath of a long war, Palladia's new ruling class of corrupt guild families and depraved necromancers whose vile undead creatures help bring about their victory holds Helena captive. According to resistance records, she was a healer of little importance within their ranks, but Helena had an explicit memory loss of the months leading up to her capture, making her enemies wonder, is she truly as insignificant as she appears, or are her lost memories hiding some vital piece of the Resistance's final gambit? To uncover the memories buried deep within her mind, Helena is sent to the High Reeve, one of the most powerful and ruthless necromancers in the New World. Trapped on his crumbling estate, Helena's fight to protect her lost history and to preserve the last remaining shred of her former self is just beginning. For her prison and captor have secrets of their own, Helena must unearth whatever the cost. There is a lot of really interesting themes that this book is playing with from what I've heard from both reviews about Alchemized and Manacled. This is a very, very, very dark series. If you are interested in picking this one up, I would highly recommend reading through the trigger warnings before doing so. And I do like this concept of like a world that's been overrun by evil, and that is what the original Manacled fanfiction is about, taking the Harry Potter series but making it that instead the good side winning, it's actually Voldemort and his Death Eaters that win. But once again, this is its own original story, so I don't want to associate it too much with that Harry Potter past. I know there's a lot of discussion and debate about. I'm really excited to read this book. It probably will be a while before I get to it just because of how big it is. I do like what they did with this edition. I don't know if I'm entirely sold on these edges. I don't really like the white in the background. Maybe if it was like black and then the black was white, maybe I would like it a bit more. But I still think it's interesting. Alright, so it's actually been a couple of days since the other clips, but I have received another book, so I wanted to unbox this one as well. And the book is Blood Soulless, which is the second book in the Blood Grace series by Bella Roth. The first book is called Blood Mercy, and it was one of my 5 stars of this year. So I'm very excited to have the second book and to be able to continue with the series. I am a bit nervous kind of going ahead with it though, because I've heard some people not like the later installments, as well as these later installments are like split into 2 separate books. Basically book 3 and 4 are like supposed to be the same book, and they have very similar covers. And so since I'm purchasing the physical books, it doesn't make me like as excited to read the series because they're like the same covers. But I still am really excited to continue with this series. So I have heard some mixed opinions about it. Some people really like the later entries, others are like kind of mixed, but I really loved the first one, and honestly I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I really love the characters and the world building, and specifically how the world building was like integral to the characters' relationships, and just how respectful and like genuine their relationship, both as a friendship and a romantic relationship, felt. So I'm very excited to continue with this one. I do love these covers as well, and like I love the purple colors in this, so excited to get to this one. Alright, so that brings us to the end of this video, and I hope that you enjoyed watching me unbox these books, and hopefully you maybe got some recommendations on ones that you would like to pick up next. This has probably been one of my most expansive book hauls, and it probably will be the most expansive for quite some time, just because I bought a lot of books and I don't need to buy any more. And so I should probably hold myself accountable to that. Most of the ones that are going to be coming in, largely ones that I pre-ordered. Hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you got some recommendations from it. And please feel free to let me know if you have gotten any of these books, if you've read through them, and what your thoughts have been. Because once again, I'm very excited to get to a lot of these books, or else I want to purchase them. I think Metal Slinger is probably the one that I'm most cautious about, just because I kind of got it just because I get the 3 and was interested in the other 2. So as for the one that I'm most excited about, I think it has to be Empire of the Dawn, just because of how much I love that series, though I'm very, very intrigued by Alchemized as well, just because of how much hype there has been around it. So those two are probably the ones that I'm most excited for, though probably the ones that I'm going to be holding off on reading just because of how big they are. I think they're both in the 900 page range. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and you know, feel free to let me know any of your thoughts, and goodbye.